Hey everybody, we're back working on the go-kart, and today we're going to put the seat in, we're going to put the front suspension in, we're going to get the steering in, and get the tires on hopefully, and maybe even get all the electrical stuff mounted. Don't know if we'll get that wired up quite yet, but it is moving along and it's looking fine. So let's do it. This is the fun one. So we're going to put the seat in now. This is just your standard everyday molded race car seat or whatever. You get these Summit Racing Jags are really inexpensive. Like, I don't know, they used to be $35 or probably double that now, but that's still pretty good for a nice solid seat. And the bonus about this seat is you can also get the seat slider rail, which is fantastic if you want to have an adjustable seat. And and they all go in together pretty good. So we're going to install this guy into the go-kart, and it's only 4 bolts here, and that's easy. Alright, and it's just going to go over the holes, the pre-drilled holes, and there it is, and look at all the mess of oil everywhere. Anyway, I'm going to clean that up. I'm going to bolt this seat in, some 5/16 bolts. I'm going to use a washer and a nylock nut on the underside here, 1/2-inch wrench, and that'll be done. Okay, we've got the seat installed, and it fits in there good. The sliding mechanism is working great, and it's perfectly fitted here. There's just enough room to actually put a bulkhead cover over that tubing if you ever wanted to do that. Separate the seat from the engine, as long as you can get it back out of the vehicle after. But anyway, I'm not worried about that today. I'm just happy that this thing is coming together, so it's looking good. We've got the front end to install, we got all the pedals to install, the rack, the shocks and A-arms, and I don't know, maybe we'll do that now. That'll be pretty cool, and then we'll get this thing maybe on its wheels soon. And it's ready to rock, getting ready to rock. That's how the power pack is fitting into the back here. Nice contained compact power drive. All adjustable. Gives you 7 horsepower with reverse and a CVT belt drive, which is proven pretty reliable when they're all set up properly. And yeah, let's finish it off. Let's get this front end done. Okay, we're going to put the front end back together now. And we're going to use this generic A-arm kit I got off of eBay, and I haven't modified it at all, and I just did spend quite a bit of time just modeling certain different frames, because you have to position these pivot points in the proper space, because you want to control your wheel when the suspension cycles. And by wheel control, I mean you want to control things like toe and camber, and how much the wheel might move as it strokes through the suspension. Ideally, you want something called zero bump steer, or having no bump steer. That means that as the wheel cycles, it doesn't steer to the left or the right. That's the ideal setup. The other thing you want to control is your camber. You want the wheel to lean into the vehicle as the suspension cycles up, and you have to do that by controlling, or you control that by putting these pivot points in the exactly right spot. So I'm pretty confident that I did that, and I think from this little marginal suspension we're going to get about 5 inches of travel out of it. It also comes with the hubs and a little disc brake caliper provision, but I couldn't find anything like that. It's pretty light duty, so I'm not sure how long it's going to hold up, but it was a good thing to start out with. It was like cheap, $100 maybe. So anyway, so back to the suspension pivot points. The other thing that you need to consider is your rack and pinion, which I am using here. Now, this too has pivots in the rack itself, and you want these pivots to kind of be in line with your suspension A-arm pivots. And that is precisely how you control bump steer, because if you're not in the right spot with your rack pivots, the wheels can either toe in or toe out when they cycle. So that's not really desirable. So you don't want that. So if you can get rid of that, you can. So that's what we think we did. So we're going to start, we're going to take these pivot points and we're going to put some lithium lube in there and get them all greased up, because there's nothing in there and I want to take it out again probably in the future. So we're going to lube those pivots up and we're going to start piecing these pieces onto the go-kart and start rebuilding the front end. And we'll show you how we engineered this how we engineered this front suspension cradle to hold the rack, to hold the pedal assemblies, to provide pivot locations for the front suspension and still give you enough room to get your feet in there. So that was a key thing in selecting this rack in particular, because I needed a cheap generic Amazon rack that had enough width between the pivots to get my feet between, and that's what we got here. So we're going to use that, and I hope that I can get all these links together, so whatever parts I'm using here you can find on my website, my Amazon affiliate links, and if you think that might be a useful part, order one. That would be great. That'll help me out too. Make more go-karts and power packs and stuff. So yeah, so let's do it. Let's put this guy together. Alright, we're going to pop the A-arms in, and hopefully everything fits in there nicely. I did give everything a good bashing just to move it out before I painted it, just so this paint didn't build up and make it harder for me to get these in, but no, that fits in there good. And I got to go in from the back side with the bolts. I got lucky that it actually cleared the frame there. And this one I think I have to do a little bit more finagling on. And I think this one's got to go in at a bit of an angle here. Start. Okay, until the bolt head clears the frame. All these things to think about, and there we go. Alright, we got the A-arms mounted both sides, and everything looks really good. I'd say that there's, we could measure that, I guess. That would be kind of fun. That's pretty well, that's full droop, and it will actually not quite go down that far. The shock will prevent it from bottoming out. Or does it? I can't remember what I did. Something, yeah, I think the shock is kind of the limiter. But let's measure the suspension travel, and you can see how it looks. Okay, I'm sorry about my ratty old measuring tape here, but it's at 10 inches right now. So let's see how, where it will go. 4.5. So that's 5.5 inches of suspension travel. Not bad. Not bad at all. And another thing to have a look at is as I stroke this suspension, you can see how the axle is very well controlled throughout the movement. And the next step is to put the rack and pinion in, and then we'll put the pedals in, and we'll be able to put our cover on, and should be good. Tighten everything down and get it adjusted, and yeah, we're off to the races. Alright, time to slip the rack in, and it goes in pretty straightforward. It just sits on this cradle right here. Just used a couple 1-inch shaft collars, same size as your rear axle actually, and you can use those as a fantastic rack and pinion support. So I'm just going to pull this out for 1 second. Get my screws out, 1/4 by, I don't know, 3/4 maybe. These are stainless steel, and they're nice because they don't rust like the black oxide ones do. That's like stainless steel. Okay, I'm just going to get my caps, and then we'll get that rack in position. We'll throw on the tie rod ends and rod ends and get all this thing hooked up here. So, I don't know which one goes where anymore. Hopefully they're all the same. Flip them over like so. Drop our hardwares in there. Okay, I'm just going to get these started and then we're going to try to put on the rest of the gear. So a 3/16 Allen key looks to be the tool of the minute. So we're just going to thread these down. It's going in so nice because I already tapped the threads before I painted it and then plugged them up with some old bolts. So they're nice and clean and it shows. It certainly shows. So I know I'm going to have to rotate this rack up and down too, even to get in the steering column. And maybe we'll do that now. Maybe we'll put in the steering and we'll show you how that goes. Okay, so we're going to put the bearings into the steering collar and we're going to start with a little oil. Oil helps it go in and it helps it come back out later. Make sure you mask everything off. And these guys just pop in and they'll seat on this little step inside. Whoops. A little step inside the housing here. Okay, that sounded a little bit better. A little bit. Trying to get it evened out here the best I can. Okay. I don't know. Let's try it. See what happens here. Okay, try that. Oh yeah, that's going in nice. Both sides. Excellent. Okay, feels okay. Feels okay. Ideally, I should have had that tool around the outside of the bearing. That was my bad. But anyway, they're fine. And now, we're going to pop this wheel in here. Pop it in, I say. Why? Why so tight? Why so tight? Okay, there you go. Wheel installed. A little tighter than I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. It's nice and tight. Feels good. Got a little view here. View of what's to come. Okay, let's get one of these tie rods on. And this is our tie rod. It comes with the kit. The steering kit from Amazon, and I had to modify this rod just a little bit. I had to add about I think a ½ an inch in here just to make sure that it was the right length, and I did that. I just put a sleeve over it and plug welded it and end welded it, and it's all good now. So gonna use some oil just to put a little oil on the threads. You know, doesn't hurt. Especially on the tie rods because they got some nice cotter pins to hold them down. And then the idea here is to thread everything on evenly. So there's a right and left side thread, as you may or may not know, and that is designed so that when you turn this tie rod, you're actually moving the wheel in or out, towing it in or out. So yeah, so we just thread it all the way on. And then we didn't put the shocks on yet purposely because I know that we need to lift this up to get this guy on the knuckle, and yeah, looking good. Like that, no bumps here. Now, oops, dropped my nut again. Alright. So that might need a washer or two. Oh no, that should probably be okay. Just looking at the cotter pin on the end of the nut, and if the pin will still retain the castle, and I think it will. So we're going to get these on, get her tightened up, and then we will move over to the steering shaft. Okay, still working on the rack installation, or the steering installation, and we're going to just put this retainer clip on the steering shaft so that doesn't fall off. And then we're going to put the steering shaft on. I'm going to spray a little lube on the splines because they look, well, the rack one doesn't even look like it's a coated anything. So that would probably rust pretty fast, but it's a little oil, you know, does a little wonders. And now we're going to put the steering shaft in. So we already indexed the steering, rack and pinion steering, and now we just need to get everything on here. So trying to get everything nice and straight, looks okay. And then the rack, this is why we did not, hey, what's going on there? Okay, this is why we didn't fix the rack yet. Okay, so maybe I'll put that on first then, and then I'll put this on. And that'll go just like that. There we go. I'll get the retainer bolts in. And then once it's all happy and moving, then we can, oh Jesus, then we can lock everything down. That looks better. That looks better. Okay. Look at that. So we're going to tighten that steering shaft down with, I don't know, maybe that's a 13 millimeter. Yeah, oh, I guess I can do that. That's handy. Okay, so just want to get those tight enough so that they bear down on the spline. Otherwise, they might find that it gets all strippied out. That looks pretty good, actually. Gonna lock that rack down, and that's gonna be great. Looks all nice in the center. Might have to adjust the toe after, of course. Okay, here we go. Now I'm just going to center the rack in the collars. And let me just do a few rotations here just to make sure it's happy. Okay. Yeah, that's going to actually have a fair amount of load on that rack, side-to-side load. You can see that. I'm so happy to be getting this go-kart finished. I got so much more I want to do with the power packs. Get those kind of progressed with bracketry and engine cradles and stuff like that. Okay, final test. There we go. Feels good. No problem. Yeah, rack and pinion steering. Okay, check it out. We got rack and pinion steering. Everything looks good. Looks like it's got lots of steering angle. Nothing's locking out. Close, but not quite. That was by design, by the way, because you get a situation, especially on a full inside turn, where that knuckle can just kind of knock over that tie rod, and basically you cam out, and then not only can you not correct it, but it doesn't end well. So yeah, so that's all relative to the position of the rack as well, and it probably even could have moved back a little, but we're going to leave it at that. It's nice and compact, it's contained, and there you go. That is the front end. Complete. Oh, wait a minute. Where are the shocks? Let's put some shocks on here. Forgot all about the shocks. Okay, these are our damper of choice, and they're just some generic eBay purchase. And they, I don't know, they're better than nothing, I guess. They're better, actually. This front suspension comes with a set of shocks, but not these. It comes with a pretty cheap set of shocks, but, you know, they'll probably be alright. And for a project, you can always upgrade later if things work out good, you know? Now, that's right. So we're going to just slightly raise the suspension because it does bottom by the shock, and that just keeps the tie rods from getting overly taxed. And there we go. Look at that. That looks way better. What size we got here now? Okay, we're going to get some hardware or some tools, and we're going to tighten that up. All right, I got some 17 millimeter tools, and we're just going to tighten these shock bolts up now. Beauty. There you go. That's one side. Let's do the other. And there we go. We got steering, we got shocks, and I think we should put the wheels on now. Okay, these are our tires. And if you have a snowblower, you might recognize them. Yes, they are in fact snowblower tires, and they are around 16 inches in diameter, and they got quite the tread pattern on them. So we also used a 4x4 trailer wheel, and basically what we did with that is we just machined or cut a hub on the Arc Droid to adapt to the hub that came with this front end kit. And I don't know, it's maybe a little heavier. I probably didn't even need to add these 1/2-inch bolts in here, but I did anyway because I had some holes to fill and I had the hardware and I thought it looked nice. So basically, this is just going to go over the spindle like so. We're going to put this castle nut on, put a cotter pin on, tighten that down, and we can tighten it down a bit because there's a compression sleeve in there. So that'll be good for the bearings, and that's the front tire. We also got some smooth tread tires, more like a traditional dune buggy. We'll try both of those out and just see which one steers and feels better on this particular vehicle. So moving right along. Alright, we just set the alignment across the front and the rear wheels, and we'll recheck it again once it's actually on its own weight, but it's pretty well at 0 now, so that means that there's an equal distance from here to here as there is from there to there. So it's at 37 3/4 of an inch between those tires, so pretty wide machine. And wide because you got a lot of wheel outside the spindle here, and this is just the nature of the design, really. If you look at these two ball joints here, there's going to be a line that gets drawn through those, and it's going to intersect the ground somewhere probably around there, and the distance from that intersection point to the center of your tire is called your scrub radius. And the more you have of that, the heavier the steering is, and the more propensity there is for the steering to get the steering wheel to get yanked out of your hands if the tire hits something. So the last kart we designed had 0 scrub, so this imaginary line intersected the tire right on center, and that's because I had control over the suspension design. This is just a kit that I'm working with, so I think it'll be just fine though, so no worries about that. So yeah, everything's hooked up with respect to steering and suspension, and we're gonna drop her on her wheels now and see how she sits. Okay, I gotta be a little bit careful because the back's still on jack stands, so I'm just gonna try to get this block out of here. Oh my god, it's definitely got some mass to it here. Might have to get up on this table. just to get this controlled. Okay, so put this up here, put that block out, and there you go. So, alright, it's got pretty good suspension. It feels nice and plush, but firm. So, we got a little bit more left in the shocks to increase the spring load. But yeah, that seems to be okay. So we'll give the alignment a check one more time, and then we'll move on to pedals. Okay, we're going to put on the rear tires, and these are 22, 11, 8. So 22 diameter, 11 wide, 8-inch rim, and they're pretty good. I use them on some other project, my last go-kart, and a couple little off-road trailers, and they're economical, and they're durable, and they're good. Cheaper than an ATV tire, I should say. Maybe not so much better, but they're white, and you know, I got a gold rim on the front, and I just want to see how the buggy looks with the white. I have a feeling the white might look better, but I don't know. I could always get some of those golf cart hubcaps and try those out. That might be really nice. Bet you it would look pretty, but they'd probably fall off. And it would be just strictly cosmetic, and not really. I don't think they would last too long. You'd get beat up in the trail up at the cottage. So yeah, that's okay. We'll start. We can always paint the tires after, but right now the goal is just to get this thing off the bench. Beauty. Tighten that down 3/4 wrench. Get the other one on. Put her on our wheels. Alright, we got her on. Well, we got the tires on, and this is how nice everything should roll when you get your project ready. Nice and smooth, no friction anywhere. Everything spins nice and smooth, and that's the idea. So that means everything's lined up and running good. Okay, and just to illustrate that point, maybe we'll start a little carbon monoxide fire in here, and let's just see how this works. All right, we're down to just the last items on the go-kart right now. The next thing we need to do is put in the pedals and finish off the footwell. And I'll show you what I did for the brakes and the gas and the rack and pinion cover and master cylinder and all that stuff. So let's get into that, and I'll show you what the plan is going to be. Let's see. Okay, trying something a little different on this guy. Different in the sense that the pedals are on a common pivot, and they're placed right in the center of the vehicle there. Those little green things are stoppers, and those guys are also stoppers in either direction. So let's see if I can show you how they go in there. Okay, so this is the idea. I'll just take this cable out of the way here. Now these pedals are intended to go right into here, and then there's a bolt that will connect them to the metal there, the structure, and then the master cylinder is going to be on the bottom side here, and I think that's going to be part of the challenge. So this is the master cylinder we're using here. got a little reservoir, and it's intended to go up in here. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge packaging all that. And oh shit, yeah, I gotta get this through this hole here. Hope I don't have to take the rack out for that. Oh, anyway, we'll figure that out. I'll just take this reservoir off. So that'll be easy peasy. And so let's make it so. Okay, I think I have a plan to get this master cylinder in and hooked up. It's a little convoluted, but anyway, I had to take the reservoir off, and then I'm going to fish it through this hole here, and then I'm going to get this guy through the hole in the frame, and then I'm going to just try to get it up as high as I can so I got access to this clevis. And then I'm going to hook up the pedal, the brake pedal, to the clevis. And I'm going to use a little pin and a cotter pin. Perfect. Cut the tails off. I hope. Oh, watch out for that one. That's a projectile. Okay, that should do. Now, I need a slightly longer pivot bolt here because that one doesn't, I can barely get a regular nut on there, so I want to put an eye lock, so 1 second. Alright, thank you. Got one. So, just going to get this guy going in here. Stick that master cylinder back up in there. Get these pedals in. Get this bolt in through 5/16 nut. Nylock, of course. A little bit hard to get in. But not impossible. Alright, I'm going to tighten that up, and then we'll continue hooking up the throttle and brakes. Okay, just getting this tightened up. It's tightening up quite nicely. I don't know how this double pivot thing's going to work, but I can tighten that bolt up and it still moves quite freely. Yeah, so that should be fine. Both move good. Alright, let's start with the throttle cable here, and we can get that out of the way. So this is a bicycle brake cable that we're using for a throttle, and we just captivated a brake handle part in the throttle there. It gave us an opportunity to raise that screw up or down in case we wanted to change our leverage, but I think we're going to be okay here. So we're going to come through this adjuster. Oh, a little frame here. As long as we get that back in the cable, we'll be okay. Okay, now got one of these guys. Again, another bicycle brake component. And I'm gonna get this on. Alright, now we're gonna have to wind that in. Ooh. It doesn't feel nice at all. Some pain in the thread there. Anyway, I'm going to work this in, and we'll get that through, and we'll join you back when I do. Okay, we just got the cable threaded back into the housing, and we're just pushing in the cable. You know, all brakes are different. I don't know. I'm probably not even doing it the normal way, but I'm doing it my way. With what I have available to me, which would happen to be bicycle brake cable, so good enough. There we go. So, Also absent are some return springs that I haven't quite figured out yet, but that looks pretty good. There you go. So that's in essence the throttle connection at the pedal, and now we can go to the engine and hook that up to the engine. Okay, got the other camera set up to show you how to put the throttle cable on the engine. Well, at least how I've been doing it anyway. It's pretty straightforward. Take the air box cover off, the air filter. Make sure you don't drop these screws down the carburetor throat. That's probably why they put that protrusion on there. Just 2 screws. That comes off. Easy peasy. Lift this guy off. Get that out of the way. Now, you'll see that there's a little clasp right here. And then this is where the throttle cable goes through. So we're going to just route this cable underneath this air cleaner line, or whatever it is. Okay, let's get this guy through that hole. And that screw is probably down so that it doesn't flop out. I'm just going to open that up a little. Okay, I think it's going through. Oh, not quite. Not quite, eh? So it's a little fray on there. That just makes it a little difficult. There we go. Okay. Now, we'll cap that with a little cable cap after a while, but not right now. Now we want to just captivate this end underneath that bracket. Start with that. Okay, and the key is that that cable doesn't get crushed to the point of not moving anymore. Feels okay. A little bit more. No, still good. Okay. So now make sure you're at 0. Make sure your cable is pulled all the way out of the sheath. Your throttle pedal's at 0. Resting position, and pull on that. Tighten this up. I've already got the return spring mounted. I had to drill a hole. It's probably a better way to do that, but that's my way. Anyway, there we go. Actuated throttle. Next! Okay, I realize now that the view before was shit, so here you go. Here's another view of the throttle moving. Okay, some of you may be wondering, why wouldn't I modify this thing while I got it out? And, well, one thing at a time. For me, anyway. I'm just happy to get this thing together and off of my bench. I get to that point with every project. I just want to move it on. Got power packs to make. Okay, oh, don't go too stupid tight on that. Okay, this little gasket here. Filter gasket. Filter. Metal wing nut, not plastic one. After we get this done, then we can do the brakes and just make sure everything's going to be working, and we can take this thing out for a rip. Can't wait. Okay, this is the brake master cylinder installation. Okay, so I'm going to just undo these screws here just so you can see how it goes in. But basically, once you got it connected to the brake pedal, put a couple of spacers on. Sorry they're not painted, but I think too many people will be looking down here. Or will they? Yeah, orange spacers. Okay, fine, I'll paint them. Alright, back to the brakes. And just had a customer pick up his e-bike, so I gave my spacers a little chance to dry. What was I doing? I was looking for some hardware here, I think. Okay. Definitely think I need some washers. Okay, I got some washers. About to tighten up this master cylinder. Just put them on the outside of this master cylinder here. Alright. With all this tightened down, so I just need to tighten that clevis up. That looks pretty good there. Now, just tighten up the banjo bolt. All right. That's good. All right. Nice. That's tight, that's tight. It's all tight, it's all installed. That's good. Let's check the banjo bolt at the engine. The cylinder mounted, we've got the master mounted, we've got the brake hooked up, and we're going to put some oil, some brake .3 oil into that reservoir there, and crack the bleeder and try to fill the system up. Okay, this is the bleeder valve right here. It's an 8mm, and we're just going to open this up and we're going to start filling the reservoir up, and hopefully it starts permeating through. Okay, I'm almost done here tonight, but there is a couple more things I'm going to just do before I pull the plug. And one, let's put on this nice light, because that shouldn't be too hard. And the light in the switch box. And after I get those things on, the assembly is pretty well done on this thing. lente, a couple of nuts, a couple of lock washers. One thing I think I'd like to add is some kind of kill switch. I think that's important. Just besides the key. Shouldn't be that hard to put one on. It's been a long day today. Been working non-stop on this. Can't get the brakes bled properly. I don't know why. Might be one of two things: operator error or a defective master cylinder. It's usually operator error. Alright, light installed. And then finally, I'm going to put in this switch console right there. And I'll have to wire that up at a later date. But today. Alright, good morning. So had a little problem last night getting the brakes bled, and I just stuck a fork in it last night because I was tired working on this thing all day, but came out this morning and just checked things out, and I figured it out. I'll show you what I did. So the master cylinder had a little bit of air in it, and what I did to alleviate that is I took off that fill port there that goes up to the reservoir, which is mounted up there. And yeah, I just pumped the brakes a few times, saw a whole bunch of little air bubbles, and then lo and behold, the pedal started to firm up quite nicely. So it seems to be locking up quite nicely now. So rolling lock. So brakes feel really good now, and that's going to conclude that. So in order to finish this off, I just need to do one more thing. And that is install our cover here. So we're going to cover up this whole unit here, and we have fashioned a little plate out of actually an old dehumidifier. Earlier dehumidifier housing cover, and it just bolts on with 4 screws, and that just keeps your feet from dragging over the rock boots and gives you a nice shiny chrome sliding surface. So there you go. So that is great. I'm glad that that's concluded, and now we're just going to move on to the electrical wiring. We got to wire in the switch box, this light, and some kind of kill switch above and beyond the key there. So anyway, we'll see how that goes, but not this morning. Got an appointment, and but yeah, it's otherwise the cart is looking fine. It's looking very good. So glad it's almost done. Now the question is, am I going to paint those wheels white again or not? I think the white does look better somehow, but maybe not. It's reminiscent of Kawasaki colors almost, but yeah, this is EcoCycle colors now. All right, see ya. All right, I am happy to announce the go-kart is complete. Just finished the electrical wiring, put the control box up here, the lights hooked up, ran some wires and basically extended the harness off of this control box and added another power wire. So have a look. So this is the go-kart. I think this is EcoCycle number 30, and it is done. Just painted the back wheels here gold to match the front, and that was the last step. So it is ready for a test ride. It's got the 212 power pack in the back, and it all went together quite nicely. Everything's working: parking brake, hydraulics, brakes, drive. Everything is set up and ready for test. I'm sure there's something I've missed here or something that will need to be addressed, but looks good right now. So now we're going to get it off of the bench, and that should be a challenge in and of itself. Added some return springs to the throttle and brake pedals, and they're working really good. Feels good. Nice seating position. Front end worked out quite well. I'm going to definitely be developing this idea with the integrated rack and suspension pivots and brake and throttle assemblies. There's a master cylinder braid in there, and yeah, this is basically using a lot of stuff that's commonly available off of the likes of Amazon and eBay, and you know, you could do this too. Oh, with that, I got a call, so I'll see you later.